Hello, Dragon. First time in a long ass time going live. There we go. Wanted to put it in a way that felt comfortable. I'm moving so many things around. This place is a mess. But, alright. I'm here to talk about my throne container. Yesterday I made a very, very vulnerable post, and I let you all know that I had yesterday and this evening to come up with rent or else face homelessness. So that's where we're at now. Nobody has signed up for my Dark Patron of the Arts, which is an extension of the throne, and even better in the sense that if you've also been a fan of my music, I'm going to make a custom song or composition for you, and you get an extra month free of the one-on-one calls. So, and on top of that, you get $1,000 off. My throne container is $4,500 paid up front, or 3 monthly installments of $1,500. My Dark Patron of the Arts container is $3,500 up front. Or if you decide to do the payment plan, then it ends up being $1,500 for 3 months, and it ends up being the same as the throne, but you still get that extra month free that you didn't get with the throne. So, what exactly is the throne about? What is this whole deal with the throne? So, all of us, when we come into this life, we have an internal compass of what is our soul purpose, what is our sovereignty, what is our authentic code, per se. And then, being raised by our parents who are doing their very best, so we got to give them grace. No hate here, although I do get mad at them sometimes. That's natural. They, by trying to raise us as best as they can, will end up little by little chipping away at our sovereignty for our own protection, which then leads to the internal parts of like the protector and all that stuff later on in life. So the throne is to help you reclaim that sovereignty. And I mostly talk to women because, of course, I'm a woman, and I experienced this firsthand. My father being, not a modern, like an old-fashioned, they would say, Cuban father, and of course very patriarchal, raised me to be what is now known as the trad wife. He wanted me to be the trad wife. He wanted me to be submissive, to do as the man says, never question anything, blah 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 blah. And the goal with that is always, they want to protect their daughters, because for so many eons, unless a woman got married, she wasn't protected. It was only not until the 1970s that we were able to start getting credit cards and bank accounts and be able to buy our own homes and all that stuff. So he's still thinking from that mindset. And he's thinking, I want to protect my daughter. So he's thinking the best way to protect his daughter is to make sure she gets married and becomes a trad wife. However, now in modern day society, and even then, it's only now that all these abuses are coming to the light, that led to a lot of abuse. Because you basically can't have your own mind. You can't have your own say. You can't be your own person. So that's what ends up happening, especially with women, but with men too. Because if you're taught that you can't be emotive, that you can't be expressive, if you can't be emotional, that's not masculine, you end up cutting away a part of yourself, which then leads to soul fractals and all that, which in the throne we get into when we do shadow work and we help you retrieve parts of your soul that broke off when your parents were trying to do their best in raising you. Now, this conditioning that they give you leads to later on in life, you kind of sometimes become a doormat, and it's not on purpose. It's very unconscious and subconscious. You're just trying to survive. You're just trying to protect yourself. And the way that this system is built does not help, because you basically gotta bend over backwards to keep the job, bend over backwards to appease everyone, etc., etc. So that's what sovereignty is about, is when you start standing in your own power and you start standing in your own sovereign self, and you're like, okay, I'm not people pleasing anymore. I'm not trying to appease anymore. This is who I am. You either take it or leave it. And that is true power. So that is that's that big power I'm always talking about. Because to me, that changed my life. I didn't even know that I was fighting for my sovereignty. I didn't even know that was a word, a definition, till a year ago. But that's what happens. So when we go into the shadow, we work with the inner child. We work with these abandoned or fractured part of ourselves. And we work on integrating them to make you more whole. And by doing that, then you start retrieving your power and you start stepping into it. And when you start retrieving your power, side effect, you also start awakening spiritual gifts. You may start having clairvoyance, or my main strength is clairaudience. I hear. They talk to me. You might have clairsentience, I think that's how you say it, where you feel. And then there's this one known as claircognizance, just the knowing. And that's something that women are known to do. Like, you just know. You don't have any fucking physical factual evidence, but you know. So the throne container is 3 months. So the first month is, we're basically really looking into what is holding you back in life from being your true, authentic, sovereign self. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and that of course leads to the physical. Because once you start seeing what it is, you can start making changes in your everyday physical life. And so the first month, we're just looking into that. The second month, we start going into what I call the descent into the underworld, where basically you're going in there and you're shedding, you're doing the shadow work, you're shedding all these parts of you that don't serve you anymore, that are only holding you back and hindering your success and hindering your true path. Because sometimes for sovereignty is going to look different for everyone. For other women, it would be being a stay-at-home mom. That is their true sovereign self, and it makes them so happy. For other women like me, I didn't want to have children, but I wanted to have many pets, so I have 6 pets, and I have a husband who loves animals crazy like me. And I wanted to be an artist and be able to hear me now. Sorry about that. My sister was calling. So, as I was saying, I hate being interrupted. Lose my train of thought. So yeah, that's the second month. And in that month, that's what we're working on. And we're also starting to find what guides will work with you. All my life, the first guides I ever worked with, dragons. Then came like Freya, then came Hecate, then came Lilith, Morrigan, all that. I've worked with goddesses here and there in between, but the ones who have really stuck have been the 3 dark mothers, Hecate, Lilith, Morrigan, and the dragons. Dragons were first before everyone. So, and it makes sense, because when you really look into the essence of what dragons are, they are primal energy, primal creative energy. That energy was here before anything else, before the animals, before the humans. It was like, my mentor, she once said, when people ask her, what are dragons? It's almost like asking, what is God? Not saying that dragons are God, but it's just that it's that same type of creative energy that would come from God. So, dragons are pretty fucking badass. And so that second month, we start working with your guide, seeing if you resonate more with dragons or Hecate or the Morrigan or Lilith, and then they become part of your divine team or spirit team, and they help you go through this shadow work and become deeper connected to who you are, your true essence. The third month, we integrate all of that. And the third month is about putting it more into physical. Also, something I forgot to say, going back to the second month, discernment. So important to know if you really are talking to the gods or guides that you think you are, or is it malevolence? Because I recently, like a month or two ago, had to clear out a really annoying fucking malevolent spirit. It was a mimic. Yes, these urban legends, these cryptids are actually real when it comes to malevolent spirits. They're real in that field. So that's something that we want to make sure that you're protected from, and that we don't end up confusing with a supposed guide. Hi. So that is something that we go into as well. And, of course, doing the physical, spiritual, protection, all that, very important. So yeah, the third month, like I was saying, is the month that it all gets integrated. The physical, the emotional, the spiritual, the guides connection gets much stronger. Your gifts have been awakening. You start learning how to better use them, how to better listen to them. And then you start applying this to your physical world, and you start looking at what do you need to release, what serves you and what no longer serves you. So that is my throne container, the 3-month container. It is $4,500 up front, like I said in the beginning of the video, or it's a payment plan of 3 months for $1,500. Then I have the Dark Patron of the Arts container, and that one is the same as the Throne container. The difference is you get an extra month free, $1,000 off. So that extra month we get to do even more one-on-one calls, working through all this. And I also get to write a personalized song or composition for you. So that is what's going on. Like I was saying earlier in the video, I'm being very honest, very raw and transparent. Today has been a very hard fucking day for me. I cried a lot, because today is the deadline. I gotta come up with this money before midnight. I gotta pay online $3,500 before midnight, or else they will take legal action. They will give us that 3-day notice, and they will start that eviction process, and we will have nowhere to go. And so none of this I chose for myself. I wouldn't. You guys who have seen my last Instagram post know the whole Amazon story. I won't go into it again, but I did everything they asked for, and they still put me on a fucking non-paid leave of absence that led to all this shit, and then my husband getting pushed out too. And so I am doing everything from my power to bring in the money, because I don't have that structure anymore. Yeah. And I know my guides wanted me to do this, and they said this needed to happen, which is great and dandy, but a priestess can't live off air. An indie musician can't write music without having a room with their computer, laptop, their freaking recording, station. You can't do that. You can't do that if you're homeless. It's just not going to happen. So I am really practicing what they teach me, and I am working my medicine, living my medicine, walking my medicine, and I am sticking with my sovereignty. I am choosing to do what is best for my sovereignty and my authentic self, and having faith that one of you will see the value I bring as an indie artist and a priestess and decide to sign up for this offer, especially the Dark Patron of the Arts offer. That one's $1,000 off and an extra month of one-on-one calls with me. That I don't know if I will do that again in the near future. This is just one person signing up for that and paying it up front. The $3,500 would take care of my rent crisis today, and I wouldn't be homeless. Last month I had to do a fucking GoFundMe because this place was asking us to pay rent sooner. This month they gave us a little more grace because they knew the situation, but the rent still needs to be paid. At the end of the day, fucking landlords, especially corporate landlords like the one I rent from, they don't give a fuck if you have a job or not. They just want their money. So they don't see you as a person who's going through the shit. They just see you as someone that's taking up space in a place that could get paid. That they could get paid for. So, yeah, this is why I've been speaking out so much against the system, because it is fucked up. It is fucked up that we're just so easily disposable. I gave 2 years of my life to Amazon for this. So yeah, that is what the Throne container and the Dark Patron of the Arts container is all about. If you guys have any questions, I'm here. Feel free to DM me. Feel free to comment on this video below. I'm here to service you guys. I know that the guides want me to basically spread their gospel and do this work that I was brought here to do. But I can't do it if I don't have a home. It just is what it is. It's reality. Because in the end of the day, in my type of priestess work, it's not just about being all up in your head and spiritual and you also got to be embodied. And right now, this is me being embodied and being like, I can't do the work without a roof over my head, without rent being secured. And I have no family here. And I've exhausted all my sources of help. So tonight actually, is the last call to be able to prevent this crisis from happening. I mean, I'm kind of into crisis already, but prevent it from snuffing out the fire, killing the magic and the music all in one. Basically, my call to action is, tonight, rent gets paid, or the music and the magic stops. Because we also know about the nervous system and the vagus nerve and all that, and it's very hard to be of service of people when you don't know where you're going to end up next. So, that was all I had to share, dragons. I hope you all have a good night, and I'll be waiting for you.